business is that I help individuals and organizations shed the weight that's been holding them hostage. And I personally know about a lot of things that I allowed to hold me hostage. Number one, salary and benefits.
Okay.
Relationships that did not mean me any good, right? Friendships.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about the people who you grew up with and how sometimes you grow apart.
For me, my anxiety is I always thinks about what's the worst that can happen, and sometimes I worry about that, and then that kind of pushes me to try to be better. But like what's in my mind is worse than whatever happens. Even within the last, let's say, 24 hours, I had a huge project at work. I had to go. We went to go see this film premiere, The Color Purple, last night.
Yes, with my soror, Fantasia.
Yeah, see, right?
I realized that I had a purpose in life.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but I realized that death wasn't it. And so from that moment, it was like I flipped a switch, and I haven't looked back. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Growth Motivator Live with me, your host, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. I am joined today with a friend of mine who I met in 1995.
Oh, goodness.
When we attended Robert Morris College, now Robert Morris University.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out when that happened, but I am joined today with Brian Stanley.
Hello, Lisa. How are we doing?
I am good.
It was 95?
Yes, let me tell you how I know. So I went to Robert Morris in 94 for medical assisting.
Okay.
And then 95, I finished.
Okay.
And then went into the associate's program and then the bachelor's program. And I don't know when you finished, but I finished November of 97.
Oh, look at that. So were you part of that first graduating class?
For the
Bachelor's degree program?
In healthcare management.
Yeah. So I remember that program started, and I said, okay, I was working at Loyola Medical Center in Maywood, so you can take classes there for free if you're working full time. So I'll go to Loyola, this, that, and the third. And then we were sharing earlier, when you're working and going to school, your life is always busy. But like I finally had a chance to kind of see what it's like to be a 20-year-old and not always be busy. So like one semester didn't turn out as well as I wanted to turn out. And then, okay, let's take a semester off. And it's all right. And then, but also at the same time, I received that flyer about the first graduate, please consider Robert Morris for the bachelor's degree program. It was like right around this time. And then when I was enrolling back in school, I got a flyer saying this is the first graduating class of the bachelor's degree program at Robert Morris. I was like, oh, I was so sick. I could have been I could have been with my friends. I could have done it. But again, I pivoted, shifted gears, this, that, and the other. But sometimes you kind of change courses because you think something's much better. And I don't not so much regret it, but it's one of those situations like I still remember that. Yeah.
Well, I had finished the associate's degree, and they informed us that they were going to have a bachelor's in healthcare management. Yeah. And I have always been an early adopter of technology, and so I decided, I'm in. I'm all in.
Right.
But it was, you know what? It was a good experience. You joke about me being able to do PowerPoint presentations. And I actually talked about that in my book, Grow With Me.
Go ahead.
Where you mentioned at the White Sox game about me doing PowerPoints. And you one of the characteristics that you describe about me, I never really realized that about myself.
And you kidding me?
No.
Oh my God!
No,
you were phenomenal. I mean, you had done a PowerPoint presentation at one point, and you did something on Governor State University, and I don't know if you were working at the University of Chicago or something like that.
I think so.
And you had done one, and you broke down like the departments and divisions at the hospital, and I was like, what is this? It's like. And then, and it was almost like we were looking around like, is this what we're supposed to be doing? Because we're not that. And then you made an announcement you're going to be attending Governor State University for this master's degree program. Like what? I was like, hold on. Like, what happened? And you were always phenomenal with that. Phenomenal in the classroom, and also phenomenal in the personal life, just getting to know you as a parent and everything, as a friend. Like, incredible. So you were that person. I remember you had a birthday party at like the Cotton Club or something like that.
Oh my goodness, I had a gold dress.
Oh my God.
Destiny.
Yeah. I remember I danced with your, I purposely danced with your mother, and I told her your daughter is one of the most incredible people I've ever met. From being a
Wow.
student, from just being a friend, and then the time and patience it took that you had to have with your child. It was just incredible, and I was just floored by your success and everything. Yeah.
Wow. And you know
Yeah.
what's really weird? I talk about this in the book, and
Mhm.
I've been mentioning it publicly, but right before that time frame when you met me, I actually tried to take my life. And I realized in that moment, I don't know if it was the charcoal that they were pumping my stomach out with or spending those few hours in Hartgrove Hospital, I realized that I had a purpose in life.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was,
Uh-huh.
but I realized that death wasn't it.
Right.
And so from that moment, it was like I flipped a switch
Oh wow.
and I haven't looked back.
Oh, there you go.
And it took me a long time to really, I think, disclose it. Like, obviously, my mother knew, my father knew.
Right.
But when my grandfather read the book, he was like, I learned so many things about you that I did not
Yeah.
know. He didn't even know.
Look at that.
So today we are talking about
Yeah.
unleashing your creativity. And before we went on air, you were telling me about your journey towards becoming your creative self. So share with our listening, viewing audience.
So,
about
so
that.
we were talking about how I started with the stage productions, but I was thinking about how it started way before that. So I used to have little army men and batteries and stuff. So
You showing your age now. I just want you to know.
Trust me, trust me. So, and my mother had a knick-knack shelf with a little praying Mother Mary and all these other little stuff like that. Back in the day, we called it knick-knack shelf. And so I would tape little numbers on them, and then she had a picture on the wall, and I took it off, and I put some tape on the back of it, and I made some lines on it, made a soccer field, and I called it the ARC, the Alumni Recreational Center. And so I played by myself, and not that I didn't have family and friends to play with, not that I didn't have people to cousin play with, stuff like that, but I had so much fun entertaining myself with my little army men. I put numbers on them, I gave them names. And then that translated to me starting, okay, you put a basketball rim in your room with a clothes hanger, with a plastic bag and a sock. Then I could play some basketball. I had this I had this chest of drawer where you can open the door. Don't tell nobody this. It was a small thing, you can open the door, that was my locker. One day, and no one saw this, shout out to Mesa Elementary School, west side of Chicago, North Lawndale. No one ever saw this, but I wore a tank top, and I had the same type of tape. I put Mason on it. I put like a number 1, obviously, and I wore it underneath my school clothes because I had a game in my room at 3:15. I got out of school at 2:30. Finished like once you come in, I got ready for my game. I went in my locker in my room. I started shooting. I had a scorebook and all this other stuff like that. And it was amazing. My players were like Bill Cosabini, you know Bill Cosby.
Again, you showing your age.
Yeah. Trust me. I'm telling you, I'm 50+1. I own it. And then I did the same thing with the. Now this is really old Atari video games.
I love Atari.
Yeah, so Atari had the baseball game, so I would create players and stuff like that. I would get the Chicago Sun-Times, and they would have the sports section, and they have the list of the players and what they did, how many the batting averages and what they did. So I would match those up, and I would create my own teams, and I had a whole season. And that's how I entertain myself. And I entertain myself that way, and it kind of kept me away from a lot of things that can happen in the neighborhood. Again, the West Side of Chicago sometimes has its pockets of things that can go wrong for some individuals. And I was one of the individuals. Things didn't go wrong. Now, one time, I drew up some gang stuff. Hello. So now did I make a baseball team, a soccer team, but also I made this gang, you know. And this song by Houdini called "One Love, One Love," and that was our gang was named One. And I wrote all the stuff out there, just like I wrote out the baseball stuff. And I left it on the dresser, and my mother saw it. And she thought I was in the gang, because I had rules and laws and signs and stuff like that. Oh, I got in so much trouble, guys. I swear. Then I couldn't do a whole bunch of stuff. But then when I fast forward 1,000 years, I was working as a dean of students at elementary school. Shout out to Fort Dearborn Elementary School, Brandon Park, Chicago, Illinois. And I was after school tutoring. After school in school suspension. I also did the tutoring programs, but at school in school detention. And doggone it, I was bored. It was like doing one of the principles Kwanzaa, like Unity or something like that. And then I created this scenario where this young girl was coming home for the holidays, and she was going to spend time with her family, and she didn't get along with the stepmother and all this stuff, and we just improv'd it. And that was like, so let's say that's on a Tuesday. Then the next day we had the in schools, we improv'd it again. Third day, then other kids start coming because it became a lot of fun. And then I say, oh, this is something. So we created a drama club at the school. And then what ended up happening, I would go to the ETA Theater, 75th and South Chicago, see some different shows. I enrolled in the playwriting courses over there. Shout out to Eugenie Jean Perkins, Chicago well-known playwright, award-winning, all this wonderful stuff. And then I started creating my own stage plays, and you start with creating a character. His name was Morgan Brown, I believe it was. Yeah, Morgan Brown. And it was called The Other Side of the Game. And the idea of it was to think about this one guy. He had the girl next door. He had the bed buddy, okay, who was his financial advisor. But then he also had the new girl who just moved from like Colorado or something like that, and just joined the church. And so she sparked the interest in him. So all this stuff took place in like one weekend or so. And he went to like a movie with her in the morning time. They met at a gas station or something like that. They saw each other one day. They saw each other at the gas station. Hey, let's go to the movies. Then they hung out and they talked. And then she was intrigued by him that she had her friends come over. But then later, the bed buddy came by, this, that, and the other, and wanted to just be that. Who also wanted a relationship with him too, you know. Mm-hmm. But then the girl next door who would do everything for him. She ended up getting in a car accident, and then what ended up happening is he didn't go to the hospital when she had the car accident because she was running errands for him, like to pick up a suit or something like that. And then she realized, like, man, you're not the person for me because I love you. And she's known him all her life, this, that, and the third. And so it's sort of a message to brothers and sisters, for that matter. It's like, the other side of the game that we have is like there are other people involved in this, so let's be careful about that. And although Erykah Badu has a song called "Other Side of the Game," I didn't take it from that, but I just love that the other side of the game, and the stage plays took off from there. And it's been one great thing after the other. Going through some personal issues in my life with just being a single parent too, and doggone it, you have to sometimes be creative in creating these different characters and having them have the strength to overcome and that resilience. But you're also gonna have the ones who are kind of badass, and you know who they're all part of your personality. And one show led to the next, that led to the next, and then I was on the Dan Ryan Expressway. I wanted to create
Dirty Dan.
yeah. I was on the doggone Dan Ryan Expressway. I heard this song called "God Favored Me," and I saw him write a gospel song. Again, I did that, and
I did not know all of this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Goodness gracious! And a lot of the stage productions I've written come from hearing different songs, come from different feelings and emotion and things like that. And so that creativity was just always there. And one of the funny things is that now go back to that 10-year-old kid in his room playing with the army men. And you would think that there's something wrong with that, but that's how I've always been.
How it began. And
yeah.
you know what? I think that the young boys that are growing up today, they're missing that positive, creative energy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Their energy. First of all, it takes some creativity to take a car, run the car into a building.
Yeah, you saw that?
Take all the stuff out, and then sell it.
Yeah.
So you are an entrepreneur. You know how to make a plan. You're creative. It's just the wrong type of plan.
I kid you not. So what happened is she talked about like when you find like your purpose, long as it's not hurting anybody or so like that. So those young people who are still in the cars and stuff like that, obviously that's hurting people. So I manage a grant program at Purvis State College. I sometimes see young people out, and I've gone out to see we have a program where we help train firefighters. So our grant pays for the firefighters. We partner with the Black Fire Brigade. And so I remember like seeing some young man out, and I said, why don't you become a firefighter? I said, and I gave him my card. He was in front of a Walgreens. I gave him my card. I gave him $1 in an ink pen. And I'm so upset because if you're bold enough to stand out here at 9 o'clock in the morning, ask strangers for money, you're bold enough to run into a blazing building to save somebody. I don't know if you ever signed up something like that.
Absolutely.
And I always tell parents and stuff. If you have that young person who's not who's kind of going wayward, who's not doing what they need, make him do something. Sign him up for the armed services. I mean, why not?
Nothing wrong.
Right, not because at some point, if you see he's gonna get a hold of a firearm, he might as well get a hold of a firearm to protect our country, to protect the legacy that when our ancestors came up doing the Great Migration, so we all have a better life and everything from leaving the South to now. Might as well have him protect that, and then make something more of himself, because sometimes they don't know that's what they can do.
Well, I think I was chatting with another guest that when we were growing up, there was a concept of community, right? You had that village, right?
Right.
You were afraid to be seen doing something in the neighborhood because somebody was going to see it.
I'm still like
I
that
think
today.
These kids don't have that.
No.
Like, they dare somebody to look at them.
Because I always say, because the kids who used to get in trouble all the time, now they got kids. And don't tell them my kid, this ain't your kid, mind your business. I mentioned being a dean of students at elementary school for a long time. You see it mostly there. You see the kid get out of school at 2:30, 3:15, whatever the case, and by the time they get to the car, the parents are shouting 4-letter words at them and everything. But then, when you want them to come up for some event or something, you can't get them to come up or so like that. I was flipping through social media this morning, and I saw something they talked about. Dr. Kwanze Kunjufu, he mentioned about there are like 5 things that help a child be successful. And so it all starts in the home.
Absolutely.
Like if you could instill that confidence in the home and in that loving environment, like works like consistency and patience and understanding and hope, all those things start in the home, your child can be very successful in that. And so what my wife and I with Sharif Stanley, we try to do is make sure we instill that in our children, trying to instill that even in ourselves, because we all get to that point. And I know you mentioned earlier about your situation before you made the sort of change. I think everybody goes to that. I think
They're not willing to admit it, though.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody wants you to see them and think that life has been all peaches and cream, but we don't look like what we've been through.
No, definitely not. I was talking with a colleague yesterday, and I said sometimes for me, my anxiety always thinks about what's the worst that can happen, and sometimes I worry about that. And then that kind of pushes me to try to be better. But like what's in my mind is worse than whatever happens. Even within the last, let's say, 24 hours, I had a huge project at work. I had to go. We went to go see this film premiere, The Color Purple, last night.
Yes, with my soror, Fantasia.
Yeah, see, right? And then I had another report that was due there for work. Then I had a film school project that was due this morning. Then I had to meet with you. I'm like, oh my, there's so much to do. And then one by one, I just start working on it, And in my mind, what I was working yesterday, I was saying, like, if you want to be the person you want to be, you want to continue the lifestyle you have. Sometimes it's going to take an extra hour. It's going to take that extra hour for you to do it. You're going to be able to push away and push back, but you got to go back to it. So while watching the film, I'm thinking, okay, and my mind's thinking, okay, I'm watching the singing, I'm watching the dance, and part of me is, okay, don't forget you got this stuff to do. So when I made it home, in your mind, it's always worse than it really is. Like, I got me home, oh, well, the report's halfway done. Like, boop, 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 okay. So I knocked out a report in 30 minutes that it used to take like an hour and a half, but now I forgot to have this great team who puts this stuff together, so I kind of already have this stuff. So that was done. So I said, okay, well, let me work on my film school project. And the morning before, what I did, I got up and started uploading stuff to my program called Studio Bind. It's a screenwriting software. But then I'm uploading it, and I hate technology. I really do. And
no,
I do. God knows I do. I swear. And so I upload, and then the pictures are crooked and all this stuff. So each one you load into a frame, you have to set it up a certain way, this, that, and third. So that's going to be a pain in the butt. And plus, that's my kryptonite. Then I said, okay, I went to bed. So, well, I'm going to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. But then before I went to bed, I said, hold on, what if I did a Google slideshow of it? Because my film school project was me co-hosting the radio show, Taste of Theater Radio, on Thursdays at IIT 88.9 FM. Got a quick shout out there. Shout out to
You are the king. You are the king of shout outs. I'm gonna have to work on that.
First time production. And then let's stick a pin in this. So that's because one time I did a stage play. It's called The Judge's Personal Dilemma. And a good buddy of mine, Larry Green of In-Depth Pictures, he's a filmmaker and everything. He brought his equipment. I told him we can do a promo of his film. And with all this stuff going on, I totally forgot that to do it. And I forgot to give him a shout out, this, that, and the third. And he was like, oh, he can't believe that happened. And I was like, so I always try to remember all that stuff. So
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I listen. One of the reasons why this show was started was because I wanted to help others grow. Mm-hmm. But what I did not anticipate, and I am enjoying, is during this process, every episode, every season, every conversation, I am growing. Mm-hmm. I'm learning faster than I'm growing. So when I get to the place where I'm destined to be, I'm going to be ready.
Yeah.
And I often say, I was born like this. I was born a talker.
Yes.
In elementary school, remember on the report card, they'll put the little check marks?
Yeah.
So I had a check mark for talks too much.
Yeah.
But you know what I realized? There are so many people who don't have a voice. Mm-hmm. And I am determined that I am going to use my voice. Mm-hmm. As a parent of a she's no longer a child. Mm-hmm. Will be 32 this year.
Wow, look at that. She's still a child.
She's still the baby. You know, she is forever the baby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when I think about the fact that I will never get to hear her speak.
Yeah.
I'm speaking for her and for me. Mm-hmm. And since I turned that corner where I realized who I was destined to be, I decided my voice was my most powerful asset.
I get it.
And my friend, Dr. Nisa Jenkins, actually just wrote a book called Speak Up, I Can't Hear You.
Okay.
I am speaking up for the single mother that's lost her way.
Okay.
The single mother who believes that life is not worth living, who she doesn't deserve all the things that we've been able to experience. I remember when we would take our kids on vacation, the kids would think that they Photoshopped themselves in some pictures.
Wow.
And so it is my desire to help others grow. My tagline for my business is that I help individuals and organizations shed the weight that's been holding them hostage. And I personally know about a lot of things that I allowed to hold me hostage. Number one, salary and benefits.
Okay.
Relationships that did not mean me any good, right? Friendships.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about the people who you grew up with and how sometimes you grow apart, I had to recognize I'm different than a lot of people, and that I needed to just focus on this continuous growth.
Right.
And that's been my goal from now until I die.
Yeah, and that's on when you mentioned friendships. You mentioned those are the things that sometimes you don't get told enough, that when you start going a particular direction, like living out your purpose, the friends you have, they're still your friends, but the conversations and the time spent with them will start dwindle down a lot more. It'll go from kicking every weekend to maybe catching one game during the season to maybe
like that baseball game we was at.
Yeah, right. Like one baseball game. That's it. And so it becomes that. And what happens is those individuals who are not living in their purpose, I should say, and God bless them too, they may not fully understand that. And so it especially happens in our community, especially in the Black community.
Absolutely.
You think you better than everybody.
Oh my goodness. I was the different Black woman.
You the Oreo cookie, all those wonderful things. But it's like, okay, so whenever you're trying to strive to do a lot of great things, so sometimes as African Americans, we have to live with that. And then there's the Black tax of once you make it, you got to help everybody else out and all this stuff. And then even when you work in different organizations, I mentioned earlier about the Great Migration and how our ancestors or how our great-grandparents and grandparents left the South to come to Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia, all these different places. and what we left down there, unfortunately, sometimes we're doing that within our own community, and
It's
we see
holding
it.
us back.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Then we have the elected officials who, I always say they should be on the television, being creative themselves, using the different social media platforms and talking about the crime, talking about the stealing of the cars, talking about the shoplifting, talking about the gun violence. They should be out. They should have the billboards out there, and there should be more people out there. Even the individuals who are like the celebrities of the world, they should be from their hometowns. They should be talking about the crime and violence. And again, I don't know if they're hold to some standard in a contract where they can't do it. But even like there are some individuals who they do take bold stance against the music industry that degrades our community. And there's some individuals who talk about that, but then there are other arguments that's more uplifting. That's our creative art and everything. So it's like it's such a double-edged sword. But what I try to do is try to teach my son the best values I can, and try to instill those, and the positivity, the creativity, and do the things you like to do. And I always say, do the thing you love to do. Doesn't drive your purpose.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
You know what? I think about my own transition. So just to give you the short version of it, because we're almost out of time.
What?
November, yeah, 30 minutes goes
Oh,
by
my
fast.
goodness.
November 2022
Uh-huh.
is when the Growth Motivator was born.
Okay.
And it was the point that I decided that I needed to focus on the one thing that I enjoy to do.
Okay.
So obviously I enjoy talking, right? But
Yeah.
I provide education to
Okay.
physicians and nurse practitioners, physician assistants. I love doing that.
Uh-huh.
But I also love motivating and inspiring others. So this side of 50
Uh-huh.
is going to be about that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Because one of my takeaways from my balancing act from the time we were at Robert Morris, and I was, as you mentioned, working during the day, going to school at night. Then, wait a minute, you forgot about another part. Doing homework after that.
Oh, yeah.
And then getting up the next day to do it all
All
again.
over again, yeah.
I realized that I spent a lot of time making others rich, organizations, that prevented me from helping those that I was destined to help.
Right.
Because I realized a lot of people aren't born with confidence. At 5 years old, I discovered my ability to be confident.
Really?
When, I don't know, and I'll tell you why. We were on the east side of Chicago, 103rd Street, and I went to Wendell Phillips Elementary School.
Okay.
And so one day I was waiting on my father to pick me up. So I'm like waiting, and I knew I wanted to watch Sesame Street, but
Yes.
he wasn't there.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, you know what? The same path that Daddy uses to drive the car to take me home, I'm just gonna walk that same
Look at
path.
that.
Now, I don't advise that.
No, right.
In 2024. However, I was a leader then.
Uh-huh.
I was intentional about what I wanted to do then. So now, from 5 to 50, that whole characteristic of mine is on steroids.
Yeah.
And so I am laser focused on helping other individuals grow. And the reason that this talk show was created is because I want people to see us sharing where we were, because we didn't wake up like this, right?
No.
We had to go through a journey to get to the
goodness.
place that
Still
we're
going.
at now, but we're still growing. We're still learning. And trust me, some things that you learned 20 years ago, you're just now putting them into action today.
I get it. You mentioned the walking home from school. I did that one afternoon from church. We lived at 21st in Kildare. My church was at 16th and Kildare, New Morning Star. And I remember one day I told my cousin, I'm about to walk home. I'm ready to go home. And I probably was maybe 7 or 8. And I walked, because remember, I was that kid. I'm gonna play not my video games. I'm gonna play my army man, and I walked, and I still remember that walk, going home, looking at people, thinking why is he walking by himself? And I walked all the way home, and I was like, well, am I gonna get in trouble? I didn't get any trouble at all. Okay, and then another thing you mentioned about things you do now. I have this radio show coming up at Governor State University. I'm going to call Fibers B Radio. I'm going to talk about education, workforce development, talk about the arts. I'm going to have that. Have Taste of Theater Radio on Thursdays. That's talk about theater and film and dance and all the arts and everything like that. So all those things are part of me. It's hard to produce all those stage plays now, and so I'm going to be looking for some directors and other co-producers of these stage productions that we have to do in some film, stuff like that.
Help the future generation.
Yeah, of course.
Listen, the person who taught my husband and I about all this cameras and all this stuff was somebody, this young man, Stefan from Larry's Barber College, has to be like 22.
Yeah, look at that.
And we knew a few things, right? But he was like, you need this lens and this camera.
Jack.
Right. But guess what? We learned it, and we're continuing to cultivate what we're learning. And it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah.
And we just getting started.
So funny. I know we run out of time. Funny thing I mentioned about the film school project this morning. So instead of the Google Slides, I thought, what if I just create some digital image? Because my program is a Master's of Fine. I'm in film school, Master of Fine Arts, and film and independent film and digital imaging. And I said, digital imaging. What if I can take my screenshots of my stage productions and put words to it and music? And that's a particular art. So now what happened is over the COVID, a lot of people, they start creating these different reels and TikToks and Instagram and stuff like that. And I said, why can't I do that? Because it's sort of intimidating to me, to try to do that.
Is it?
Yeah. Now it's not, because there was one of the questions you asked me, like, what should people do? I would just say, just try it, And doggone it, I created a reel this morning, and I attached some of the mini photos I've taken at the radio studio, and I submitted it. It was like this is part of an independent project, but it was one of those things like, okay, I can try to do this. And I started thinking about all the other different other different images I can make and make a film reel of that, And then one last thing, one of the other challenges that really took me off, and I'm not sure if you know about this, my oldest daughter, Chantel, she passed away in July 2021. And so when that happened, that kind of threw me for a loop, like, what? I mean, so it takes your energy, it takes all that. So I also want to work and speak to those parents who have to go through that. It's one of the toughest times in your lives. It's one of those things that whenever you get the chance, or not all the time, but don't let your child know how much you love them, how much you appreciate them and stuff. And I was watching The Color Purple and watching and we all remember from the early 80s and even now, the relationship with Suge Avery and her dad. And it's like, well, I don't know, it was just sometimes daughters and fathers have the tension between, they still love each other, but why that tension is there, I just do not know. It was like the day before she passed. And I was about to call her because the first lady of the church had passed away, the lady who taught us the books of the Bible in Sunday school. And I said, no, I'm not going to call. I'm not going to be the first one to call this, that, and then I got a call the next morning that she lost her life in a car accident. And I'll never get that 24-hour period again. So I would say to all those individuals who as you're growing, as you're building and things like that, still cultivate some of those, not all the relationships, but some of those relationships that are really dear and important. Let them know, just talk, just hear voices or so like that. And I think that's going to they'll serve. And one other part, I'm thinking about all the stuff I talked about. I had to get them going this past weekend. I said, God got me, God's got me.
Absolutely.
And so I'll leave it at that. God's got you. God's got you. As long as you're doing the thing you should be doing, it's not hurting anybody. So I enjoy it. Fires Be Productions.
Thank you so much for your time today. I do want to say I'm so sorry for your loss. I did see that on social media. I can't imagine
oh my God,
what that's like, because I know it's not something that you ever get over.
No.
Right?
No.
So
definitely not.
Well, I think we have helped everybody learn about being creative, but also that everybody's journey is different. And if you walk in your own journey and you keep working it every single day, it will pay off.
And you know how much fun you have with it too. Because sometimes you have fun by yourself.
Oh, listen, that is not lost upon me. I love me.
I'm going to watch some golf, flip through some football, eat some bad food, this, that, and the other. I rearranged the furniture in my house. I'm gonna sit in my family room today like it's a brand new house.
I love it. I love it. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to the Growth Motivator Live, where we've been talking about unleashing your creativity. Until next time.